Houck. He's the Chief Information Officer at Hepta Systems and also the panel shop. Jason's one of the sharpest knives in the drawer. He's a young gun. He was just an incredibly prodigious mind at a early age, a great role model. Jason, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, Jason.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Man, it's awesome to have you, buddy. Awesome to have you. So let's just sort of start right at the beginning, man. I mean, Hepta Systems, we know your dad very, very well. Both of you guys, as well as your brothers, are extremely well thought of. Hepta Systems has won numerous awards as a master systems integrator for the projects you've done. And as a matter of fact, you guys were one of the first Control Trends systems integrators of the year. In 2015. So give us a little bit of history of Hepta Systems, if you don't mind.
So back in '93, Hepta Systems started as a multi-brand service control company. We were servicing in Ontario, Canada, a lot of the casino work, which was all multi-brand. Every site we went to was a different brand of. It was Automated Logic to CB, Johnson Controls, Honeywell. So we needed to really outfit our tool belt at that time. As we grew as a company, we found the industry was moving to an IT-centric world. We brought on an IT department early. It was late 1990s, early 2000s when we started that. And I feel that's really helped us grow into the company that we are today. As in 2010, we opened up into Michigan. And that's really broadened our horizons on what our capabilities are. We got tied in with some really great customers, allowed us to grow, allowed us to take our vision of what an integrated facility is, and show that to the world as well, which is really great. And it's allowed us to integrate systems all the way from elevators to lighting control. Any HVAC, generators, electrical metering, all into that single dashboard and platform, which is, hey, it's been a roller coaster, and it's been a fun learning and a fun ride.
Well, go ahead, Kenny.
Well, you brought so many questions to bear with that, because I think when you talk about elevators and you talk about all the intricacies, all those silos, the old traditional way we explained how everybody had a proprietary system, what the difference of a master systems integrator versus a systems integrator, how would you go about to explain that?
I would say, so a systems integrator is used to working with singular systems, right? They've got their bag of tricks. They've got their JCI or Honeywell system that they're used to working with all the time. Where a master systems integrator has that open, clean slate overview as, hey, throw the systems at me and let's make them work. If it's an open API, software development team in-house to take care of that. If it's a whole slew of Modbus EPMS system in a data center, it's sitting down and hashing that out. It's knowing proprietary protocols and certain systems that are, say, open BACnet, but they're locked down at the software level.
Well, great, because I'm on your website right now, and it's a fabulous website, by the way, at heptasystems.com. But even this illustration on the one campus Martius project, I get a real sense of what you're saying there, because you just on your dashboard, you've got the total KW usage, you've got the gas detection alarms present, you've got the data center, the fire alarm. Very few systems integrators can mess around with that high level of integration. So it's quite a compliment for the Hepta Systems.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's a mix of you got some train tracer COM4 there, Liebert units, 150 electrical meters throughout the floors. There's a Caterpillar generator. It's a real mixed bag. A Siemens fire alarm system. It was a fun project to do. That was one that we took on, and it was start to finish in 90 days. It was actually a retrofit and integration. 750 zones. Some air handler control, full integration, 150 meters in 90 days. That was cooking.
That's amazing, Jason. So let me ask you something. So, Ken and I are just a little bit older than you, but a lot younger than your dad, at least in spirit. But I mean, so when Ken and I came up, I mean, the name of the game was, proprietary systems. You went on bid day, you get your product in, and then you make it up on service, right? And so, I mean, that was just the way it went to market. So, what sort of because you guys, I mean, the lid sort of has been blown off of that, or it's been coming, but you guys have stepped in such a big way that people that are even still quote unquote proprietary, you guys are able to come in and integrate their systems and open them up. What sort of resistance have you met with, or have you met with resistance, or have people been helpful? And do you because obviously you guys got to, some of these companies look like the Antichrist, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and it's not as much of a resistance as a, hey, oh wow, I didn't know, right? Like it's after the 15-year relationship with somebody where you were vendor locked that you found out that you were vendor locked and that there were solutions out there. It's an education thing with the owners and the design teams and saying, hey, let's design these systems properly to begin with, to make sure that our lighting system and fire alarm and HVAC and all these even IT systems can communicate together. And the big thing with open systems, people say BACnet, right? BACnet is open, but there's still a lot of, like you say, that proprietary out there where they can be BACnet, but you're only buying their product from them, so you're vendor locked still, and their software licensing is still vendor locked. So it's an education thing, and it's being aware of the product that you're purchasing. That's where we work a lot of times with as a vendor rep. Well, not a vendor rep, sorry, an owner rep, to make sure that when they're buying technology that we review it and we dig deep into it and see what's actually under the hood.
Well, because it seems like the owners are the educated owners are the ones that are really driving this. Now we're seeing more and more consulting engineers that are getting on board. I know a guy that you and I are both familiar with in Atlanta, Donnie Walker at Newcomb and Boyd is one of these. We call him, Ken and I call them enlightened engineers that sort of get it. But for so many years, because the vendors didn't want to change it, they're not going to go in and tell you that, hey, you can open this up where you have a bunch of choice. Most of the consulting engineers, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So they have a spec that the trained guys given them for years and years to work with. So it almost seems like it really is the owners that are driving this for the most part, and a few enlightened consulting engineers. So sort of that being said, would you agree with that? And if you do, what advice do you give an owner if they got a project that's getting ready to come out of the ground, or even a retrofit?
I totally agree with your statement there that the group that is pushing this openness and integrated facility is a small group. The recommendation to an owner: do your homework. Get somebody on your team that you can trust, that has a vested interest in your future and not just the project. Because a lot of stuff is one and done and see you later. Find that partner, that MSI that is going to be your partnership, that cares about how your building's going to operate, how you're going to manage your lighting and everything together, how your tenants are going to operate. And down the road, if you're going to integrate analytics into things, right? It's thinking about the broad spectrum of all the technologies and all the capabilities, and designing for that in regards to what you're doing today.
Yeah, and I think you said something that's really key, because I think finding a systems integrator that is brand agnostic is a term we use, but also your local building automation controls distributor. I mean, we do some work with you guys in Georgia. I know you work with a great one up in Michigan, Cochrane. So your distributors, pretty much, for them to be relevant, they have to be brand agnostic. They have to understand the different brands and what they do. So I think that's another resource for you too as well.
Yeah, definitely. Brand agnostic is one thing. We go in looking for solutions, and those solutions may be brought together with multiple brands. It might be a mix of JCI and Honeywell and Lutron or LC&D or Blue Ridge Technologies. it may be a mix in that whole facility, but it's choosing the right technologies in the right places, not worrying about making a building all red or all blue or all Siemens.
Well, that's really good stuff, Jason. Again, the abilities that you have are very formidable, but you also are very good at the granular stuff. For instance, shifting gears to the panel shop, I'm very impressed with the abilities, the core services that you offer there, whether it's the technical support services or if you need involvement with FinStack support, the software, Niagara Analytics, Etrasim, and you can do custom graphics. Tell us how that got started and how that's going.
So a couple of years ago, we as Hepta, we changed the way we did projects because as we wanted to grow, we wanted to be able to do projects no matter where they were geographically. So we had to change the theory of engineering on a bucket. This is a visual that Ted always explains. Is you always find the controls guy in a locked electrical room with a 5-gallon bucket flipped over and his laptop on his lap, engineering the job, doing the programming, doing the graphics, stuff like that, right? So we wanted to pull that back into a controlled environment. So rather than doing that in-house, we figured, hey, we can market this to a lot of people and give this solution to a lot of people. So we started a company called the Panel Shop. Not spelled S-H-O-P. It's S-H-O-P-P-E.
That's how they spell it in Canada, right?
Yeah. Process and process. Yeah, exactly.
And shop and shope.
Yeah. So we started that up so that we could start to, do prepackaged VAVs with programming in them. Everything's out of the package, bagged and tagged, ready to go. It's got all the connectors in there. It's got a set of directions, kind of IKEA-esque, that I could basically hand that package to my wife. No offense to my wife, but she could take that and install that VAV box with the tools that are suggested in the instructions, and off she goes. But it's truthfully to make our installs and the industry's installs easier and more efficient, and to hopefully progress the industry.
I have to admit, I'm on again. I welcome everybody to the panelshop.com. It's a great website, but under the services, for instance, I'm going to bring it up here in a second. You actually do spell it out and lay it out there. There's some great illustrations on the panels. And again, how would somebody get in contact and actually engage in your services?
They can either reach out to myself, or there's an info at thepanelshop.com, or there's a couple phone numbers there. Give us a shout. We can do a consultation. Hey, we've got some canned panels that follow IT standards right on the shelf, ready to ship as well. Or we can sit down and do a design meeting with the customer or engineering firm too, because that's one thing that we've found with projects, right? They may get designed, and then when they hit the field, it gets the technicians or companies' theory on how their panels and stuff should be built. But that's something that the customer's left with at the end of the day, right? So if you build out a campus or something like that, you're going to have, and you go out to multiple bid, you're going to have different panels at every site. So at the Panel Shop, what we've done with a lot of customers is we give the customer a custom SKU. So that customer now puts that SKU in their specification. So now on their acceptance, they're looking for that panel SKU. It's a UL rated panel, and it comes with, if they want a layer 3 network switch in there, or a JACE 8000 with so many IO and a certain amount of drivers, that panel comes out the same. No matter who orders it and who ships it with that SKU. And those are available at
Well, hang on. Those are definitely available through your local distributor. I know Stromquist handles them. DMS Controls handles them. Think Cochrane. So your major building automation controls distributors are handling them, and we're real proud to work with that. And I think what that gives the owner, like you said, is it gives them consistency. But there's another theme I want to talk a little bit about here, Jason, that Kenny and I have been following for a while, and I butcher this term every time I say it. Ken Sinclair, I think, originally coined it, but Kenny and I have talked a lot about it. We call it Competition?
Co-opetition. And it actually
Co-opetition.
it came out of Harvard. It's a Harvard study. So
yeah. But generally, one of the trends that we're seeing, and I think you guys are a really great example of that. I know in where you guys have worked with some of our customers in Georgia. I mean, it used to be the mentality was you got kind of rat-like, you wanted it all, right? And you didn't want you didn't want to help anybody else out. And here the fact that you guys are doing these panels, it obviously helps you guys a bit. It helps people like us, but it also helps other integrators. But you guys, for example, and I'll let you speak more to this. I know Kenny's got somebody, some projects you're helping his integrators with, and you've helped with some of our integrators. You guys have like a data scientist on staff, for example, with the analytics and stuff like that. And you guys have come in with some of our integrators that wanted to handle the controls portion of it, but yet the customer required that they have a high level data analytics. And you guys kind of come in and you shake hands. You say, look, we'll handle this part. We'll be transparent to the customer, or we'll do whatever you want us to do. And so I want you to speak to that. And also, a term that Jeff Houck from AI coin, which I think is very relevant in today's market, which is we're in the integrity economy, basically meaning that, you trade on your word. And if you go in and work with somebody and then go around them or try to mess them up, I mean, you're done. Your reputation is that. And I can tell you from our experiences, you guys are totally above board. You've been great with our customers. Our customers have been happy. And so speak to that, if you would, a bit.
Yeah. With the team that we've built, we got to keep them busy and we got to keep them on their toes. So like you mentioned, it's cooperation or whatever, whatever that was, but
it's competition. Co-opetition.
I just deliberately mispronounce that word every time because I love it when Kenny gets so excited about correcting it.
He does it on purpose. Yeah.
Right. But, we're good old boy Canadians at heart, right? So it's a deal done on a handshake and going in. But yeah, we enjoy coming in and helping out contractors, bringing their customers to the level of what their expectations are. We've got a great analytics department with a team of 4 there. We're doing Sky Foundry analytics and as well as Niagara analytics in there. A lot of great work, a lot of great stuff is coming out of that.
Well, your dad's already told us, and we would agree that you're definitely the smartest guy in the room. But and your dad might be the number 2. But tell him a little about, for example, one of you guys on staff, Keith Bishop, man, and his background. I mean, he is just crazy smart, isn't he?
Oh yeah, Keith, man. You want to get into a deep dive conversation into the weeds. Keith is the guy to do it or to write those custom analytics. His background in the Navy with his nuclear side, he is unbelievable when you get him writing analytics and diagnosing how buildings should be run and predictive analysis. It's unbelievable the stuff that we have coming out of our analytics.
Yeah, we'll speak a bit more about that because, I think we just all assume if we collect the data, that's analytics. But I mean, for an owner out there who might be considering analytics, I mean, it's a lot more than that. In other words, a lot of people can give you a nice, graphic dashboard and bring the data points in, but that's not really where the magic happens, is it?
No, that used to be the hard part, is getting the data out. I think there's a lot of people available to do that nowadays. It's doing the live analytics, right? The analytics on the edge, not doing data dumps. And historically, who wants to know the problems that they missed a week ago? I want to know predictively to stop the problems that are going to happen the next day or the next week or next month. I want to know predictively what my energy spend is going to be in the next week based off of weather. I want my building to start reacting to the way people are using it, to the way, like a Nest thermostat. You go up and turn up the Nest thermostat to 68 at night before you go to bed, and you turn it back up at 72 in the morning. That thermostat learns. It learns your routines. You might turn it down again at noon. People are starting to expect these things out of their facilities and their buildings and their commercial spaces. And that's what analytics is going to do for us. And that's where analytics is going to, with it on the edge and true live analytics where the outcome comes in and you can do reactive or make changes to your facility based off of those.
Well, Jason, there's so many things I want to ask you because, again, it's always fun to talk to you because you got a passion for the job you do. I mean, it's so wonderful to see somebody in our industry serve as a role model like you did with our Young Gun program, and then to be so sharing, and then to have a company that's so formidable. But it's got to be difficult even for you to keep up with all the trends. What's probably the most exciting thing that's happened to you since, let's say, the HR 2017, January? How do you keep track of everything, and what has caught your attention as being one of the most relevant developments?
Most relevant developments, I'd have to say, is Intel joining the Hastag community as well as Tritium. That's huge.
Yeah, they became a founding member. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, why is Hastag, for our listeners who might not know, why is Hastag relevant? Why should they even care?
Hastag's relevant because, it's a standards basis. BACnet is a great thing for our industry, but Hastag is just that next level to bring disparate systems and naming conventions and tagging and normalization to our industry, which is an industry where everybody calls the same widget something different. So it's a great thing. It's a breath of fresh air, and it's a great community to be a part of.
Okay, so I want to sort of bring this back to, again, for the owners. We have so many owners that listen and so many engineers that listen in. But the relevance for a guy like you, in other words, if you've got controllers and on all the pieces and they're tagged with Hastag, generally, what's that doing in terms of reducing your cost to do a job?
If we walk in and we see a job that's been Hastag tagged, and you can do a query now for give me equips that are zones. Now I don't need to know the naming convention going in. I can start querying the database and the systems and start finding things based off the tagging architecture. So if I do zones, or I take a look through the whole system for space temperatures with set points. It's really easy. I don't need to know how the company name things or anything. It's at my fingertips, ready to go.
So again, the pushback, to get this out there, because it is becoming accepted at a very rapid rate. But if you're a consulting engineer, would you ask it, or in the specification, the controllers or the devices are Hastag compliant? And if you're a user, would you also want to have that be part of your criteria for selecting your controls and your equipment?
Yeah, definitely. That's something definitely at the network level controller. That is a Hastag controller is a great thing. That's something that we're pushing with our end user customers, is to make sure when they go out to bid that the commodity TC work is done and brought back to that network controller, Hastag, and ready to go. The biggest thing that we're finding is the understanding of Hastag. So to get the training out there and train the TC contractors of what Hastag is, and how it works and how it helps.
So that'd be a pretty good question. If you're an owner and you're interviewing consulting engineers, or you're interviewing integrators, maybe a great question would be, so tell me about your experience with Hastag. What do you think of Hastag? And if they start saying needle in a haystack or something like that, they're probably not with the program, right?
Yeah, that'll definitely separate the men
wheat from the
boys.
Shaft, so to speak, right? Yeah.
Well, exactly. let's give Hastag its due shout out. And so the 2017 Hastag Connect is going to be in Tampa, Florida, May 8th through the 10th. They're interested in speakers. There's a call for speakers on that website. You can get that at www.hastagconnect.org. And they also are looking for sponsors. So another thing you had mentioned offline, Jason, was that Tritium now has a buy-in to the Hastag.
Yeah, which is great. With Tritium being one of the best data aggregators in the industry, it's great to see them a part of Hastag and a part of that community. It'll just bring a lot of strength and stability to it. It's great to see.
So, serious question for you here, because we know you're a young gun, and for our listeners who might not know, young guns are younger people in the industry. We're trying to attract younger people into the industry. And so here's my serious question for you. Is it more fun being interviewed by me and Kenny, or more fun being interviewed by young gun Rob Allen, who works for us?
That's kind of putting me on the spot there.
Yeah, that's what we do. It's called investigative reporting.
Yeah, that's right. You can't knock an interview with anybody from the Control Trends.
There you go.
From stable, but getting you guys 1-to-1 or 1-to-3 here in an interview is always fun and always enjoyable.
Yeah,
to
good
see
stuff.
what's going on in the industry.
So for young people out there who might be thinking about, doing IT and going to a cubicle farm or whatever, I mean, what does our industry offer? I mean, if you're a young person out there and you're listening, you're trying to decide to be a doctor, a lawyer, a porn star, or get in the controls industry, sort of what's the advantages of each one coming in our industry versus those other fields?
Yeah, there's so much growth that can happen within our industry. It's an industry that's been around for 20 plus years, but the speed that it's moving in and the growth that can happen and how innovative you can be is amazing. It's so much fun. You can bring an idea in 1 week and pump out a product in a month or so, and it's great.
Well, I think as you mentioned too, used to be we were kind of, Eric, I think you initially hit on it. We were one-dimensional. We were very proprietary, very, dominant. Once we got something, it was very difficult to share more information with anybody else. It was a control thing. Now we've seen this industry in the 20-some years or 30 years evolve into the most open. The IoT of things right now is happening within our industry. So I think we finally got enough of the things that make people interested in a career. The challenges, the income, certainly the revenue paid in our industry is commensurate with everybody. We just don't have a popular industry because there's not been enough, breaking
hot
stories.
Chicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not sexy,
not
right?
Exactly.
Well, we're working on that part, though. Your dad is a big help in that domain, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Eddie, I think we now look at an industry where we do analytics. We have a lot of interesting aspects about our industry that are going to take people that are in their teens and going through technical training schools and going into IT related courses thinking, hey, HVAC and control and equipment, it's almost like it's not as, of course, on the same level as NASA, but controlling a gigantic chiller plant, or these, staging boilers, that's a pretty cool thing to do. So once you learn enough about the mechanical aspects to it, now you've got some exciting, computer IoT based programming and interesting things for people, don't you think?
Yeah, and you even see large institutions, higher ed, using their facilities as living labs, right? They want to tie into these systems and the analytics and the data that we're retrieving from these facilities to do research papers on.
Sure.
It's nowhere can you get a 1 million square foot building and have 60,000 data points live to you other than in our industry. Right.
Right. Well, and of course, too, the other thing is if you really want to make a difference, and I mean, because a lot of people, the millennials, they want to make the planet a better place. I mean, this is where you can have a direct impact on the carbon footprint and have people have better work environments and that. And then if you're on the dark side, according to Fred Gordy now, I mean, you can become a cyber pirate. I mean, we're hearing tales of being able to hack somebody's thermostat, in Canada, for example, when it's freezing cold and turn the heat off and say $1,000 for us to turn your heat back on. So is that how you supplement your income, Jason?
No,
don't answer
not.
that. Don't answer.
Yeah.
But the cybersecurity is another big aspect. I know you guys are sort of at the forefront of that, and I know you guys are very, very capable at protecting systems. What should owners and engineers know about protecting their systems? Because obviously that's another trend Kenny and I've been tracking is the cyber attacks through the building automation systems.
Yeah, and I think the cyber attacks happen when you've got your contractors and your teams that are taking care of the BAS and systems within your facility. They play the hide and seek from the IT department. So rather than coming out and saying, hey, we have these systems attached to our internet and these ports are accessible and stuff like that, it's if they don't ask, we don't tell kind of thing. That's why like I said, the early 2000s, we brought on our IT department so that we could hit those conversations head on. So that we took an IT approach on securing our systems back then. Today, we still use a Cisco product to do call home strategies and remote access and stuff. But it's IT security has been an industry for as long as building a BAS systems have been IoT systems. We got to stop reinventing the wheel on this and just go back to the core of IT security and follow that. That's a major thing.
I got you. Well, Jason, I tell you what, we're kind of getting up against it here a little bit time-wise. Kenny, do you have another question? I got one more for Jason after you.
Well, actually, I always like to hear what excites you. But what's again? Where do you see?
No, you're stealing my question, dude. Don't do that. Don't go there. Stop. This is my question. All right, I'm going to frame it a little bit differently. Okay, here you go. So, Jason, looking out 4 or 5 years, describe what building automation controls and systems integrators and systems integration is going to be like, say, 4 or 5 years from now. How's that, Kenny?
Well, that's kind of where I was going, but I wanted to make a point, though, is like you said earlier, we're getting more comfortable.
Kenny, you just stepped all over my question, buddy.
Hey, Eric.
Make your point after Jason.
Once you give me the mic, you can't take it back, man.
No. Let Jason answer, then you can make your point. Okay, is that fair enough? All right. All right. This is like Family Feud on ControlTalk.
There you go.
All right, Jason, go ahead. Okay, Jay's going to make a point after you make yours.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Man, I hope we don't have to worry about proprietary systems and stuff like that. Everything's plug and play, like USB printers within our industry. I think hopefully it comes sooner than that. Within the next year, 2 years, I see everything to be pushed to converged IT network. Every air handler will have an Ethernet drop. VAV, we're already headed there. PoE lighting, we're there. It's expanding on that and getting a higher adoption rate within that. It's great to see. Smarts at the edge, analytics on the edge. It's all great stuff.
Okay, so Kenny, before you make your point, I got one more question for Jason. So if that truly comes to fruition, like you're saying, do you have any suggestions for careers for me and Kenny after that happens?
Well, I think, Jason, you hit the nail on the head again. And we're not doomsday, preachers, but we see our industry is evolving at a rate of never before have we seen cycles go so fast and products get implemented and put into the mainstream and be accepted. I think you're right. And I think it comes with a generation. We always talk about tipping points and pendulum swings and different things, but I think what's happening is your generation is going to come in with such high levels of expectancies and such a willingness to open up and optimize everything. It's just going to be a natural assumption where our generation probably is the last generation, the fleeting generation that was brought up where you don't do that. I always get this security thing where somebody says you shouldn't have open standards in security because that's basically fundamentally incorrect. Everybody should have a protocol or way to communicate within their system that people can't hack, and there is no standard. So I'm seeing that list disappear. But when Eric had mentioned that you have to be comfortable with concepts of working with people that have a good, solid expertise. And instead of everybody trying to recreate their own version of the expertise, we're going to see centralized support centers like what you're willing to do at Hepta and the panel shop. And because if you have the bandwidth and the ability to help more than just your own business interests, it allows other people to start developing expertises and using your expertise. We're going to see this whole integrity-based, economy really take a new shape in our industry. I think that's kind of where I was going with. Would you see that happening in 4 or 5 years?
I hope so, because all that will do is raise the owner's expectations of what they're getting, and realize that a fully integrated single pane of glass for an owner isn't a white elephant. Right? It's not a dream. It's happening. So find the right partners, find the right team to get that done.
There you
well,
go.
Jason, I tell you what, one of the things we love about you is you're a very modest guy, but 30 under 30 in Detroit. So you're well known. One of the, I can't say at the beginning, one of the bright lights in our industry. So man, we feel fortunate to know you, man. And we really appreciate you taking time to come on and hang out with us a little bit. You get more from Jason at heptasystems.com. Check them out. If you're a consulting engineer, these guys can offer some great insights. Hell, if you're an integrator and you got, a job you need some help on, these guys are great. We can attest to that. And if you need a pre-wired panel, the panel Shoppe, SHOPPE.com. Check those guys out for that too. And actually, they'll refer you back to your local distributor most likely. And buddy, thanks for taking the Sunday morning to talk with us, brother.
Yeah, it's been great. It's always refreshing.
One last question. How'd you like the Control Trends Awards this year?
Oh, it was great. A lot of surprises and.
Hey, you caught that mistake on that card. We had our own little, Grammy or Hollywood awards, but you were smart. You played it off and said, hey, they weren't on the front of the envelope there. It was a technical glitch.
So your dad said we should not have any more models. He said, forget the models next year.
Oh, so is he volunteering?
He is. Because now we had the women.
Perfect.
We had the woman of the year. We got to have male models. So we're thinking Keith Bishop maybe too, man. But he can't talk.